There are places the world forgets. Places buried not in soil, but in silence, where questions are older than language, and answers come without words. Delphi was such a place. It did not rise in conquest. It was carved by belief. Some called it a temple, others a doorway. But all who entered left changed. This is not history. This is a return. Welcome, wanderer. Before you lies no ordinary place of stone and time, but a threshold, a veil drawn thin between worlds at the edge of memory. Where the winds of Mount Parnassus stir the soul, there is a silence more ancient than words. A stillness that waits to be entered, not with footsteps, but with presence. This is Delphi, not merely a mark upon the map, but the center of the ancient world. The place where the divine once breathed through mortal lungs. The elders called it the navel of the earth, not because it ruled, but because it listened. And so we begin to descend, not into ruins, but into meaning. Step through the light, set aside certainty, and listen, for the oracle does not shout, she whispers. Long before Delphi bore its name, this place was called Pythia, a land coiled in shadow, where a great serpent guarded the earth's secrets. The creature's breath was poison, its presence ancient. It was said to have been born of Gaia herself, the primal mother of all things. Then came Apollo, the god of light, of order, of reason. He did not ask. He came with purpose and with a golden bow. With one strike, the serpent fell. Its body coiled into the rock. Its breath lingered from the silence that followed. A sanctuary was born. Not in the name of conquest, but of communion. Apollo claimed the place, not as a throne, but as a mirror where human longing could reach toward divine clarity. Delphi, the name we now know, means nothing without that first moment when darkness met light and yielded. From the sacred stones rose not a palace, but a temple built not for kings, but for questions. At its heart stood the Pythia, a woman chosen, not for wealth, not for beauty, but for silence. She became a vessel, empty of self, ready to be filled with the voice of the divine. She sat upon a tripod, above a hidden fissure in the earth. From that crack, the breath of Gaia rose again, a sweet and strange vapor, not smoke, but mystery. The Pythia inhaled, and with eyes turned inward, she spoke, but it was not her voice. It was Apollo's, filtered through dream, shaped by riddle, soft as fog, sharp as flame. Her words came not as commands, but as puzzles. Each answer was a door, and behind it, more questions. This was prophecy, not prediction, but poetry. A reflection, not of the future, but of the soul. The ritual was simple, but never ordinary. The Pythia fasted. She bathed in the sacred spring. She chewed laurel leaves, Apollo's own tree, and then she descended into the chamber of breath. There, upon the tripod, she did not wait for the gods to speak. She waited to dissolve, to vanish into silence. The vapor rose, sweet and strange, subtle. It did not intoxicate. It opened. Her eyes fluttered. Her voice trembled. She was no longer herself, and yet more than ever. Those who stood before her listened not just with ears, but with reverence. Some said she spoke in tongues. Others said she howled, but all agreed her words were not hers. Alone, there was rhythm like poetry. There was silence like thunder, and in between truth, cloaked in symbol, the gods, it seemed, did not answer directly. They invited interpretation. They handed you a mirror and dared you to look. They came from all corners of the known world. Kings in gold, generals in armor, philosophers in thought. Each bore offerings, gifts of incense, silver, and sacrifice. But beneath it all, they carried only one thing, a question. The Pythia did not favor rank. She did not flatter. She did not yield to power. Her replies came as riddles, neither yes nor no, but something deeper. Croesus, the king of Lydia, once asked, "If I wage war upon Persia, shall I succeed?" The oracle answered, "If you cross the river, you will destroy a great empire." He did, and he did. But the empire destroyed was his own. This was the nature of truth at Delphi. Clear only in hindsight, sharp only through wisdom. It was not prophecy to predict. It was prophecy to provoke. Those who sought control found humility. Those who sought victory found reflection. Not all who came to Delphi sought answers. Some came seeking insight, not of the gods, but of themselves, etched into the temple's stone, above the entrance where pilgrims passed, were words, few but eternal. Know thyself, nothing. In excess, surety brings ruin. These were not commandments. They were invitations to reflect, to pause, to think. The oracle offered riddles. The stones offered reminders. Philosophers sat at the temple steps, not to debate, but to listen, to let the silence between words speak louder than reason. For here, wisdom was not taught. It was remembered, drawn from within, kindled by contact. With the sacred Delphi was not just a place of prophecy, it was a school of soul, a sanctuary of restraint, and a mirror for all who dared to ask the right question. Delphi was not only made of stone and ritual, it was a window, a place where the boundary between worlds became thin. The air did not feel magical, it felt full of meaning. Those who stood before the Pythia felt more than awe. They sensed a presence, something unseen. Some spoke of visions, brief flashes of memory that were not their own. Others described glimpses of what might be. Some wept without knowing why, not out of fear, but because they recognized something. This was not a performance, it was transformation. If the gods were there, they did not come with thunder. They arrived quietly, not with sound, but with a knowing. It was a shift just beneath the surface of the soul. Delphi did not give answers. It offered perspective. It did not lift the veil, but allowed you to see through it, if only for a moment. And sometimes that was enough. In the shadows of the sanctuary, beneath the official rites and sacred chants, whispers stirred. Not all knowledge was welcomed. Some truths were too vast, too wild, too free. There were scrolls said to be hidden, texts never read aloud, secrets not meant for kings, nor even priests, but for those with the courage to look inward fully, without flinching. One tale speaks of a book, ancient, bound in cracked leather, left open in the dust beneath the altar. On its pages, a single symbol, an eye, staring, alive. Some said it was Apollo's gaze. Others believed it was the soul, recognizing itself. This was the true danger of Delphi, not madness, not vapor, but the possibility that within its silence, you might see something you could never unsee, your own reflection, unmasked. Delphi burned not with fire, but with awareness. Those who left the temple were never the same, not because they saw the future, but because they had seen themselves. Not the mask, but the marrow. The oracle did not impose, she revealed. And in that revelation, There was a quiet flame, a light lit from within. It did not shout, it did not blind, but once kindled, it could not be put out. This was the mirror Delphi offered. Not polished silver, but truth itself, soft, unspoken, and utterly clear. To stand before the gods was not to be judged, it was to be witnessed. And in that gaze, to finally witness yourself. What you did with that sight was your burden, or your becoming. Today, Delphi lies in quiet ruin. The columns have fallen. The altar is cold. And yet, something remains, not in the marble, not in the dust, but in the silence between the stones. The questions once asked here still echo, not in sound, but in thought. They ripple through centuries, resting gently upon any mind willing to wonder. A seeker stands at the edge of a broken path. The wind moves through the empty temple, as if carrying whispers from a time before time. Not prophecy, not history, but presence. For every soul who steps into Delphi, whether in body or in spirit, finds something ancient, not outside, but within. What the oracle gave was never final. It was a beginning. The oracle has fallen silent. The temple crumbles. The sacred spring runs dry. But prophecy was never bound to stone. It lives still in quiet moments, in sudden insights, in the voice that speaks not with words, but with knowing. The gods no longer speak from mountains. They whisper in memory, in dream, in that pause between thoughts where something true takes shape. You need no fissure, no fumes, no tripod. You need only stillness. Stillness enough to hear what stirs beneath the noise. The question remains the same. Will you listen? For the oracle was never just a woman, never just a place. It was a practice, a mirror, a fire passed from breath to breath. And now, that fire is yours. The temple has fallen. The priestess is gone. But the silence remains. And in that silence, the question still echoes. The oracle was never meant to speak for the gods. Alone, she was meant to awaken the voice within you. You are the seeker, now, and the mirror is yours to face. So ask yourself, if you stood before the oracle right now, what would you dare to ask?